Minasan konnichiwa. Welcome to Kenjimin YouTube channel. Watashi wa Lanie to moshimasu. Lanie Sensei to yonde kudasai. Kyou wa dai 27か勉強します。じゃあ、始めましょう。
Minna no Nihongo, Lesson 27. Here's the table of contents. Potential verbs. Miemasu and kikoimasu. Dekimasu. Chika. And for the last topic, we're going to talk about the wagawa pattern. Let's proceed to our first topic, which is potential verbs. First, let us study the proper conjugation to potential form. So we have here the polite form and the plain form. For polite form, all the verbs should end with mas. We have here the group 1 verb, an example for group 2 verb, and the group 3 verb or irregular verbs. Let us first study how to conjugate the group 1 verb. Let us take note of the last syllable before mas. So we have here ki, kakimasu. The last syllable before mas is ki. So let's go back to our hiragana table. We have the a column, I column, U column, E column, and O column. We have to focus here on the E column. So kakimasu is in this column, E column. All we have to do is to change it to its corresponding E column. So from ki, it will become ke. Just like this. So from kakimasu, it will become kakemasu. All we have to focus here to change all the last syllable to their corresponding E column. So let's look for more examples. Kaimasu. So the last syllable before mas is I. So moving it to its E column, it will become kaimasu. Another example, we have here tachimasu, that is to stand up. So the last syllable before mas is chi, and its corresponding te or e column is e. So that will become tatemasu. Now try to answer this next example. Suwarimasu or to sit down. Okay, so from ri, it becomes re. Suwarimasu becomes suwaremasu. Another example, asobimasu, to play or to enjoy. Take note of the last syllable and change it to its corresponding e column. That's right, it will become be. So from asobimasu, it will become asobemasu. Last example, sumimasu, to reside. So mi becomes me. So from sumimasu, it will become sumemasu. Alright. That's all for the group 1 verbs. Now let's study the second group of the verb. So for group 2 verbs, we just have to remember every verbs that ends in S sounds is a group 2 verbs. For example, tabemasu. Tabemasu. All we have to remember is that we just add rare in between the last syllable and mas. So from tabemasu, it will become tabe raremasu. We just have to add rare before mas. Okay, let's look for more examples. Shirabemasu. We just have to add rare in between this before mas. So from shirabemasu, it becomes shiraberaremasu. Another one, oboimasu. Oboimasu. Oboeraremasu. Now try to answer this example. Oshiemasu or to teach. That's right, oshieraremasu. Another example, orimasu. So orimasu is one of the 15 specials. Although it ends with the and it doesn't end with an S sound, it's still a group 2 verbs because it is a special verb. Orimasu or to get off. That's right, oriraremasu. And for our last example, shinjimasu, which is also a special verb, which means to believe. That's right, it's shinjiraremasu. Okay, so we've learned how to conjugate the group 1 verbs and the group 2 verbs. Now let's proceed on the last group of verb, which is the irregular verbs. Noun shimasu. So for this one, all we have to remember is that we keep the noun as is and change shimasu to dekimasu. So that's very simple. We just keep the noun and just change shimasu to dekimasu. So from noun shimasu, it will become noun dekimasu. We have here the special verb for group 3, which is kimasu. So kimasu conjugated to its potential form is koraremasu. Take note of this one. Kimasu in its potential form is koraremasu. Another example is benkyo shimasu. If the noun is benkyo and then shimasu is added, benkyo shimasu becomes benkyo dekimasu. We just change shimasu to dekimasu. Now try to answer the next example. Renshu shimasu. That's right, it is renshu dekimasu. Fukushu shimasu. That's right, fukushu dekimasu. Lastly, sentaku shimasu. Sentaku dekimasu. Now that we've learned all the conjugation for group 3 verbs, we will study how to properly use it. Let us study how to make it in a plain form. So we also have a potential form in its plain form. So once we have already conjugated it to its potential form, we just have to treat it as a group 2 verb. Why? Because kakemasu ends in S sound. Taberaremasu, all the group 2 verbs will end in e because you just have to add rare. So re also ends in S sounds. And dekimasu is a group 2 verb. It is one of the 15 specials. So it also belongs to group 2. From kakemasu, its plain form is kakeru. We just remove mas and add ru. Same with this one. Taberaremasu, we just remove mas and add ru. Taberareru. And lastly, noun dekimasu, we just remove mas and add ru. It becomes noun dekiru. Again, once you have already conjugated the verb to its potential form and you want to change it to its plain form, you just consider it as a group 2 verb because it ends with S sound. which is the rule for conjugating to plain form. Now take note, wakarimasu, miemasu, and kikoemasu doesn't take the form of potential. Why? Wakarimasu already possess the ability of possibility. For miemasu and kikoemasu, we will study later why they don't take the form of potential form. But for now, you just have to take note that there is no wakarimasu, mieraremas, or kikoeraremas. When do we use these potential verbs? First, potential form for skill and ability. So for skill and ability, this use is very straightforward. Just like the English can, the potential form can be used for skill and ability. For example, I can eat. Instead of I eat ramen, or I can eat ramen. I swim, or I can swim. So adding can shows your ability or your skill. Let's have an example. Watashi wa Nihongo o hanashimasu. That means I speak Japanese. So from hanashimasu, let's change it to its potential form. So it is a group 1 verb. From she, we change it to its corresponding S sounds. It becomes hanasemasu. So it becomes watashi wa Nihongo ga hanasemasu. It now means I can speak Japanese. It's very straightforward. You just have to add can. Let's take another example. Mira-san wa kanji o yomimasu. Mira-san wa kanji o yomimasu. That means Mr. Miller reads kanji. Now from yomimasu, we change the last syllable to its corresponding S sound. So it becomes yomemasu. Mira-san wa kanji ga yomemasu. It now means Mira-san wa kanji ga yomemasu. Mr. Miller can read kanji. Now if you'll notice our 2 sets of examples, take a closer look on the particles that was used. So for the first sentences, we use particle o. Particle o is used to mark the direct object. So the direct object of hanashimasu is Nihongo, and the direct object of yomimasu is kanji. Once we change the verb to its potential form, we change this particle o to particle ga. Okay, so we no longer use the particle o once we change it to its potential form. Watashi wa Nihongo ga hanasemasu. Mira-san wa kanji ga yomemasu. The object of potential verb is usually indicated by ga. Usually indicated by ga because there are some instances that even though the particle is o, we don't change it to particle ga. Particles other than o remains the same. That means if we're going to use particle ni, we're just going to keep it as it is, even though we use the potential form or the potential verb. Do you remember our previous topic during our Engo? We have verb dictionary form plus kotoga dekimasu. Yes, that's right. It's very similar with this potential verb. For example, pasokon ga tsukau koto ga dekimasu. Pasokon ga tsukau koto ga dekimasu. That means I can use a PC. Now, for the potential verb, pasokon ga tsukaimasu. So from tsukaimasu, the e syllable becomes e. So it is now tsukaimasu, which also means I can use a PC. With their meanings, there are no difference, only in their form. For this one, you use a dictionary form plus koto ga dekimasu. But for this one, we just use directly the potential verb. Now for our second use of potential form for possibilities. So not only for skill and abilities, but also for possibilities. In what sense? You can also use this form for expressing what's situationally possible or allowable. Let's take this as an example. Kono ginko de doru ga kaeraremasu. Kono ginko de doru ga kaeraremasu. You can change dollars at this bank. That means it's possible to do this one, changing the dollars at this location, at this bank. Kaeraremasu from kaimasu, to change. Another example. Nihon de wa koen de osake ga nomemasu. Nihon de wa koen de osake ga nomemasu. In Japan, you can drink alcohol in parks. It is possible or it is allowed to drink alcohol in parks. It's pretty easy. Potential form for possibilities. What is situationally possible or allowable. Another example. Denwa de yoyaku dekimasu. Denwa de yoyaku dekimasu. You can make a reservation through phone. So it's possible, it's allowable to make a reservation through phone. Yoyaku dekimasu is from yoyaku shimasu. That is an irregular verb or the group 3 verbs. Now that's all for our potential verbs or the potential form. Let's proceed to our second topic, miemasu and kikoimasu. Miemasu and kikoimasu. These verbs are not volitional. What does volitional means? It means relating to the use of one's will. Volitional is doing something according to your own will. They denote something indicated by particle ga, naturally coming into sight, or a sound naturally reaching one's ears independent of one's will. That means it naturally come into your sight, or a sound naturally reaches your ears. Take note, miemasu and kikoimasu cannot be used to talk about a person deliberately paying attention to something. In that case, a potential verb is used. Since we already talked about that it is not volitional, it is not according to your own will, but it naturally comes into your sight or naturally comes to your ears. So if you deliberately pay attention into something, you use a potential verb. Shinkansen kara Fuji-san ga miemasu. Mount Fuji can be seen from the bullet train. Even if you just happen to look at the bullet train's window, you can see the Mount Fuji. So it naturally comes into your sight. Another example, radio no oto ga kikoemasu. Radio no oto ga kikoemasu. The sound of a radio can be heard. So even if you don't deliberately pay an attention, you heard this sound. It might be very loud, or it might be that you are near the radio. That's why you can hear the sound of it. Now for the potential verb, Shinjuku de Kurosawa no ega ga miraremasu. You can watch a Kurosawa film in Shinjuku at the moment. That means you'll have to go there, you make an effort, you deliberately watched the film. You can watch a Kurosawa film in Shinjuku at the moment. So it's situationally possible to watch the Kurosawa film in Shinjuku at the moment. Another example, denwa de tenki yoho ga kikemasu. So from kikimasu, it becomes kikemas. We change the last syllable before mas to its corresponding S sound. So you can listen to the weather forecast on the telephone. You can listen to the weather forecast on the telephone. So try your best not to confuse miemas, kikoimas to meraremas and kikemas. Always remember that miemas and kikoimas are not volitional. That means it naturally comes to your sight or it naturally reaches your ears. But with this one, you made an effort to watch the film or you made an effort to listen to the weather forecast or to something else. Let's proceed to our third topic, which is dekimas. We already know the meaning of dekimas. It means your ability. That's why we have the verb dictionary form, kotoga dekimas. It shows the possibility. But for this lesson, the sense of the verb dekimas introduced here is to come into being, to be completed, to be finished, or to be made. Example is, Eki no mae ni ooki supa ga dekimashita. That means a big supermarket was built in front of the station. So, dekimashita here means built. Second example, Tokei no shuri wa itsu dekimasu ka? Tokei no shuri wa itsu dekimasu ka? When can you repair this watch by? So dekimasu here means to be finished. Remember that dekimasu in this lesson is introduced as come into being, to be completed, to be finished, or to be made. It possesses these meanings as well. For our fourth topic, we have shika. Shika means only. Shika is appended to nouns, quantifiers, etc. and is always used with a negative. So remember we have dake, which also means only. But for this one, we use shika only with a negative. A sentence that contains it negates everything except the word to which it is appended. When used with a noun to which a particle is attached, it is appended to the particle unless this is ga or o which it replaces. So that means if there is already a particle existing in the sentence, you just attach it. But if the particle is ga or o, we replace it. For example, Romaji shika kakemasen. So we use shika, which means only, and it is used with a negative, kakemasen. That means I can't write anything but Romaji, or I can't write anything but only Romaji. Now for dake, Romaji dake kakemasu. So dake is used with a positive, which means I can only write Romaji. This too means the same thing. I can only write Romaji. But they are different in their uses. So they both mean the same thing, but they are different in their usage. So later on, we will talk about how they are different in their uses. As you can notice, we remove the particle ga, which is supposedly used in this sentence. So, Romaji shika kakemasen, which should be Romaji ga kakemasen or Romaji ga kakemasu. Since it is particle ga, we don't attach it, we replace it. Another example, Nihon ni shika ikemasen. I cannot go anywhere but to Japan. Or Nihon ni dake ikemasu. I can only go to Japan. Both means the same things, but they are different in their uses. Since we use particle ni, we attach shika and dake. Remember, as long as it is not ga or o, we just attach it. always remember de, ni, kara, and any other particles, we attach shika or dake. But for ga and o, we replace it. So it could be shika or dake. What are the differences between these two, dake and shika? A dake sentence is used for general description of something or the situation without any personal feeling involved for the speaker. Remember this, without any personal feeling involved for the speaker. A shika sentence highlights the objective term and emphasizes the speaker's feeling on the exclusiveness or uniqueness of something or the situation. For dake, the meaning is neutral and there is no judgment. For shika, it is usually used to express one's inclination toward something. Let's have an example. Koko ni keki ga hitotsu dake arimasu. There is only one cake here. You are merely stating the fact that there is only one cake here, no judgment, no personal feeling. You're just saying that there's only one cake here. But for this sentence, Koko ni keki ga hitotsu shika arimasen. There isn't anything but one cake here. You are emphasizing that the amount is not enough. Maybe you are too hungry and one cake is not enough. You'd like to eat like 5 cakes, but there is only one cake in that store. That's why you said there isn't anything but one cake here. Let's take a look at another example. Ano hito wa ego dake wakarimasu. That person only understands English. The same thing, you are merely stating the fact that that person can only understand English. There is no judgment, no personal feeling. But for this sentence, ano hito wa ego shika wakarimasen. That person doesn't understand any language but English. They both means the same thing, that that person can only understand English. Although, when you use this shika wakarimasen, you are emphasizing that the person should understand other languages as well, and understanding English only is not enough. Be not confused with these two words, dake and shika. They both means the same things, but they are different in their uses. For dake, you are just being neutral. There is no judgment at all. There are no personal feelings. But for shika, you are emphasizing something else. So let's proceed to our last topic, which is the wa-ga-wa pattern. This pattern indicates a contrast. So that's it. It's all about the contrast. Wine wa nomimasu ga biru wa nomimasen. That means I drink wine but I don't drink beer. Another one. Kino wa yama ga miemashita ga kyo wa miemasen. The mountains were visible yesterday but not today. So notice here the wa, particle wa, as a marker of the topic. So our topic here is the wine. And we have another topic here which is the beer or biru. And this particle ga, which literally means but. Okay, so we have here a contrast. That means one is positive and the other one is negative. So here it's nomimas and on the other side is nomimasen. For the second sentence, it is miemashita and the other one is miemasen. Okay, so it should be one positive on one side and negative on the other side. And we have two particles. So we will not use particle o here or particle ga. We have to use particle wa to show the contrast of these two nouns or the two topics that we have. Okay. Let's take a look at another example. Saka wa suki desu ga yakyū wa suki ja arimasen. So we have here suki, which means like, and suki ja arimasen. I like soccer but I don't like baseball. We have here the particle wa as a marker of the topic saka. We have here ga, which means but, and we have another particle wa here, which is a marker for our topic yakyu. Hiragana wa kakemasu ga, kanji wa kakemasen. So we have here the positive kakemasu and the negative kakemasen. We also have the particle wa as a marker of the topic hiragana, ga, which is found in the middle, which means but, and another particle wa which mark the topic kanji. I can write hiragana but not kanji. So that's it for our wagawa pattern. We just have to remember that it is used for contrast. One side should be positive and the other side should be negative. On the middle, there should be the particle ga. That's why we call it the wagawa pattern. Let's review. Potential verbs. It is used for skill and ability and for possibilities. Niemas and kikoimas. It is not volitional. It naturally comes into sight or sound naturally reaches one's ear. Dekimas. It doesn't only mean able to do it, but it also means to come into being, to be completed, to be finished, or to be made. Take note of these definitions. For dake and shika, dake is always used with a positive, while shika is always used with a negative. For dake, it is appended to the particle unless this is ga or o. Same with shika, it is appended to the particle unless this is ga or o. Dake is used without any personal feeling or judgment. For shika, it is usually used to explain one's inclination. The wagawa pattern is used as a contrast.
That's all for today's lesson. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and hit the bell button so you will be notified for the upcoming videos. Ja, mata ne!